know about that. Muy bien. Y muy buenos días. Muy buenos días. I am starting the video. We had a quick question, which we're going to open with because it is a super, super good question. And that is really both if you want to listen to extra stuff or you just, you know, hey, I'd like to know about this topic. How do I do this? And, you know, you've got extra time. What are good sources to go to? Language Tutor on YouTube is very, very good for a little more geared towards adult learners. So you can relate to what he's going to say very easily. And then type in they'll always have like a little magnifying glass, a search box, and you type in the search box, whichever topic, you know, you want to see a video about. But if you only want listening alone, then probably the easiest thing for you guys at your level to do right now would be to go to Duolingo, but instead of, and I will pop up where you find this actually, so you have an idea. So bear with me while I get this to work, I hope. Oh, come on. Oh, and we've got everybody coming in, so I'm pulling people in here. Okay. Duolingo also has an area, but I probably want to show you where that is visually on the share screen, because most people will miss this. And, you know, especially it kind of depends on what your level of how willing you are to play around on a website. The older we get, and it's no offense to anyone in this room, believe me, the older we get, sometimes the less people may be willing to play with a site. You know, you click on something and it paralyzes you with fear that something else is churning through the word. Oh my God, how do I use this? So, okay, aquí vamos, here we go. Here is the Duolingo site. It's just very generic, very general, okay? And this is in the learn mode. If you look at the very top bar, this is in the learn mode. So that means it's got all these mini lessons that you do. And all these lessons probably take a minute, 2 minutes, you know. You can do however many minutes you want, just marching through that. But right next to the learn button at the very top bar is a stories button. And if you click on stories, oh, come on, vamos, wow. If you click on stories, and I have to be careful not to listen to these because boy, once it remembers, it goes to high level stuff. Do go in the order they give them, okay, for where you are. Go in that order. And in some cases, like down here where it's all in gray, you know, unless you do the entry level stuff, it won't let you into the higher level stuff, which is wise. But start with morning, and they'll have little exercises you can listen to. You do have to kind of visually look at it because, like, for example, they may give you something that they'll have two people talking on the stories section, and then it'll pause, like one person says something and it'll pause and ask you, what would this person respond with? And I'll give you some choices to click on. So, you know, visually, you still have to be looking at it, but not maybe the whole time. But it will tell little stories. And the further you get on, the more it will be more story-oriented and less, oh, now you need to check the screen. But it will kind of go in between that a little bit. So, you know, it won't, strictly speaking, be only audio. There are some things which are higher level for that. I'll see if I can find any other podcasts. You know, you may want to just go in and in Google easy Spanish stories podcasts. Boom. But, you know, a lot of times what one site considers easy to you will feel like, oh my God, they're going at 80 miles an hour. So just, you know, a warning. A lot of times I click on easy stories to look for things. And then when I actually go to preview and look at those things, it's like, well, this won't be so easy for the people I know, darn. But, if you're willing to play with it, which is fine, just can play around with it. Okay.
Yeah, can I say one thing?
Si.
This is Margaret. Yes, I signed up for Duolingo a couple weeks ago, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
It really does build a lot of vocabulary very fast.
It does. And it also gives you an opportunity to speak, and it corrects your pronunciation. And so
Yes.
and it's free. You can also sign up to like $6 a month to really take it to the next level. And if you really get into it, you can have competitions with other people and stuff, but it's definitely very, very helpful. I do it every day.
It is a great thing to do every day. I really highly recommend, if you only do 5 minutes a day and do it every day, you will be amazed at how much you do. If you do 10 minutes every day, you'll be even more amazed at what you learn. And I because I am kind of picky, I don't think it always does the best job with the language recognition when you speak, but it does okay. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. There can be times when you're actually mispronouncing things and it'll say you're right, or pronouncing things correctly, and because maybe there are issues you don't know of with your microphone, or it'll say you're wrong and you really were okay. So just know that whole artificial intelligence with voice recognition and accuracy is not 100%. See,
Marilyn, when I practice on Duolingo, it would say that you need to mind your accents. And I don't, when they ask me to type, and I do not know how to put
accent marks. Okay.
It's on the bottom. It's on the bottom.
It should be on the bottom. They generally give you an accent mark bar somewhere when you have to type things in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just look for that next time. There are ways to put accent marks on a keyboard and toggle between, but that can be kind of complicated, and it's different depending on what kind of machine you have, what kind of computer you have. If you're on iOS or Windows or what have you. Okay. Bueno, vamos a empezar. ¿Qué vamos a hacer hoy? What are we going to do today? Today we're going to play around a little bit with these three things, or well, really four things that can be four verbs. Let's be more specific, not four things, four verbs that can be plugged in where we will just say am, is, are. Okay, we'll play around with that a little bit so that you look at all the forms of some of those verbs, and so that you see examples of how they are the four of those used. And out of those four, the easiest one is I, because I does not change its form. Yay. So we really need to practice that the least, because you just know that word I is, there is, or there are. But we need to know when one or the other of those four verbs, ser or estar or tener in some cases, or I, are used. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the situations in which they are used so that you can see them in context. And we'll use some photos and some video for that. We're also going to practice numbers a lot. Practicing saying numbers and listening to numbers, those are essential. Writing them out as words, I don't give a rip, but it helps you writing it out. It may help you in terms of when you at least see it written or you write it out, you are looking at phonetically, knowing how those words for numbers are spelled phonetically helps you remember how to pronounce them, because the vowels are king in Spanish. Man, if you do not get the vowels right on numbers, you can be misunderstood. So getting those a, e, I, o, u vowels correct when you say numbers is really important. We're going to work numbers a lot. I hope we get into some introduction with La Casa Vocabulario, but we'll see. Vamos a ver, we'll see how far we get, because it's more important to do the quality than just slam bang through everything. Okay, muy bien. Tres verbos, los tres verbos que pueden significar is, am, are. Let's take a look at these again. Okay, vamos a ver. I is the easy one because you don't think about how many forms does I change into. It doesn't ever change form. Just remember, don't pronounce the H. Never say, oh, for God's sake, don't say hey. I know it looks like the English hey, doesn't it? But yeah, you do hey, somebody like have no idea what you mean, right? I, like, it's like I, you know, people exclaim I. That's the same pronunciation as the verb I, except I audífonos aquí is not a surprise, you know, like cucarachas, yikes, cockroaches. That's different. Same pronunciation, but different word. Okay, vamos a ver. And when we are looking at all these verbs, except for I, you know, I is the only one that will not fit into this grid form idea. All the other verbs like ser, like estar, like tener, like every other verb besides I that you're ever going to see or hear in Spanish needs those forms. And fortunately, you can skip the vosotros if you're saying in Latin America, because no one will use that one. So really it's 5 forms you need to know, but I will not have all 5. It has only I. Okay, so bueno, vamos a ver. When do we use I versus ser, a form of ser, versus a form of estar, versus a form of tener? So we've got that down. It is, there are. It just talks about something existing, taking up space. It is there. That's all it talks about. It's a very non-specific, it's giving existence to this person or thing, okay? Just like we say there is or there are. Oh, there are birds flying overhead. Oh, there are fish in the pond. Oh, there are kids in the park. Okay, it just says that those things are out there. It can talk about multiple things or one thing or one person, doesn't matter. So we've got I down. Cerrestar, tener are more complicated, and just know if you make mistakes with them, that is normal, but we want to try to get some of the really obvious uses down pat. Ser is used for identifying, talking about things that are relatively permanent or difficult to change. Okay, so we use it in descriptions. We use it to identify. Estar, if you remember that stupid little phrase for how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. If you use that, you got it. That is what the beginner needs to know. That is even what advanced people need to know in a nutshell. Estar is used not to identify. That's a mother, that's a father, that's a family, that's a dentist, that's an electrician. It does not identify. It does not talk about things. It talks about how people feel, whether that is emotions or health, and it talks about location. Estar talks about health, emotions, location. That's what it talks about, okay? Because, well, health and emotions are very, very changeable. Ser indicates things, characteristics that are not very easily changed. You know, if you're born with blonde hair, you've got blonde hair. If you're born with blue eyes, you've got blue eyes. So it's all that kind of thing. Physical and personality characteristics. If you say somebody is intelligent, that is what they are like. That is ser. Okay. even though it's not a physical characteristic. Saying somebody is intelligent is not a feeling. You don't feel, and well, you may feel intelligent, but people don't feel intelligence. Yeah. All right. You have it. So, okay. Estar, ser for more permanent things. Estar for more changeable things, and for location. And then tener. Tener is in a special category. Tener does not mean am, is, are at all. Tener means to have. To have something in your possession. However, Spanish uses a number of special expressions, which we call idioms. And that means things you can't translate literally, because if you do, they make no sense at all, right? An idiom in English would be an example like, oh, I'm just pulling your leg. You're not really pulling somebody's leg, you're
Teasing.
Yeah, you're teasing them. Okay, you're having fun with them. You're messing with their mind, maybe, right? But pulling their leg doesn't mean you're okay. And pull your leg. What the heck is that talking about? No. Well, okay, that's what an idiom is. You can't translate it literally into the meaning. But sometimes where we in English, where we'll use am, is, are, they may use tener, and we'll look at those exact examples in a bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the forms of ser. We're going to look at the forms now, just the forms. And the forms of ser and estar are both very irregular. Soy, eres, for tú, right? Es, to talk about any one person, okay? El, indicating he, a male person. Ella, indicating she, a female person. And usted will share the same verb forms always as el and ella. I know usted means you, but it shares the same verb form always in all verbs as the el verb will be, as the ella verb will be. We've got es, which is pretty close to is, so that's not too bad. Es, okay? Somos, when we talk about we, nosotros, or mi amigo y yo, my friend and I, which is the same thing as nosotros. Anytime I put myself in a group, it'll need that kind of a verb. And for ser, that kind of a verb is going to be somos. Sois is the plural of tú, only used in Spain, so we'll forget that one. And then the plural, they are used for a group of male people, a group of female people, a mixed group of people, and also used for ustedes. So just like él and ella and usted share singular verb forms, ellos and ellas and ustedes share this plural verb form. We call it third person plural, but son. So we've got soy, eres, es, somos, son. Bien. Okay, vamos a ver. A ver. Where did my practice page go? I had a practice page. Aquí vamos. Oui. Perdón. It disappeared on me. Okay. Momentito. Aquí está. Here it is. Okay. Let's mix them up. I'm going to move these around as needed. We're going to move these forms around. We've got two sons, we've got two S's, we've got one soy, one eres, one somos. We're going to match them up with a human being. We're going to match up which one of these verbs on the right matches up to say am, is, or are about these human beings. Mi hijo, my son, yo, I, mi hijo y yo, ustedes, you guys, more than one, Alicia, Ricardo y a Laura, tú. Okay, which verbs are going to match up? Mijo.
Es.
Es. Okay. Bien. Muy obvio, ¿no? Muy obvio. Ooh, it won't let me move them around. A ver. Supposed to be, okay. Mijo es yo.
Soy.
Soy. Perfecto. Fácil. That's the easy one, right? Soy. And usually people will not bother with the yo part unless they want to be emphatic for some reason. Oh, it's not letting me move these around very easily. Let's try this again. Otra vez. Soy. And usually you'll only hear soy. It would be like saying am. We don't do that in English, but you can do it in Spanish. Mi hijo y yo.
Somos.
Somos. Bien, somos. Okay, vale. Somos. And again, you know, unless I need to define who is in the we group, you're likely to hear just somos. Somos. Okay, depends on the context. Ustedes, you guys.
Son.
Son. Fantástico. Son. Son. Uy, I need to get bien, bien, bien. Uy, momento. Very finicky. Ooh, very finicky. Let's just type it in there, make it easier for myself here. Son. How about Alicia?
Yes.
Yes.
Es, because she's just one person. So, right, I need what they call a singular verb for Alicia. Ricardo y Laura.
Son.
Son, perfecto. Bien. Y tú.
Eres.
It is.
Eres, okay? So eres is what we use when we ask people a question, or right, that's got tú in it. Okay, vale, magnífico. Bien. Okay, let's look at all the forms of estar. Estar is also regular, but just like we had soy with an OY, we've got estoy. And even though estar is irregular, it's a little easier in that than ser is, in that you can see the EST starters. Sí. Oh, and you're on mute, Pusha. I can see you have a question.
Quick question.
Sí.
In chapter 4, there was one question in workout. The house is in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I wrote La casa es en San Juan, Puerto Rico.
And we can't do that because is in San Juan is telling a location. So we cannot use ser, we have to use estar.
Okay.
When we talk about people or things being located somewhere, we cannot use es.
Okay.
Or son, or somos, right? It has to be this verb that you see on the screen now, estar, for how you feel or where you are. Whenever you talk about where anything is located, it needs to be that verb estar. And that's a very important question that you ask. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Okay. And so before we figure out the forms of we're going to figure out the forms of estar. So we've always got the EST to start out. So that makes it a little bit easier. Okay. Estoy.
Estoy.
Estás.
Estás.
And you punch the end. You see the accent mark. That accent mark, it tells you we're going to punch this end sound. Okay. That's important because there is a different word. Estas, not estás, but estas, it means something totally different. It is not the verb. So we want estás, estás. Estás. Okay. To talk about one human being or to address someone as usted, we need está.
Está.
Está. Bien. For nosotros, or we need estamos.
Estamos.
Bien, okay. Estáis in Spain, but we don't need to use that in Latin America. And to talk about multiple people in a group or to talk to you guys, we need están.
Están.
Okay. And I want you to notice when I've got a lonely little S by itself, that is always going to be a flag for a tú kind of verb. A lonely little S on a verb. A lonely little S on the tail end of a verb is going to mean it's a tú form. Okay, whether it's ser or estar or any other verb at all, an S on the end of a verb form by itself will always mean tú. Amos, and really more specifically an amos or an amos or an emos, that mos ending on the end of a verb will be a big flag for it's a we're doing it kind of verb. Okay, no matter what the verb. And when you hear an N on the end of a verb, it is going to be a big red flag to you that it is an ellos, a they, a plural group kind of verb. Okay, so we've got estoy, estás, está, estamos, están. Bien? Okay, vale. Let's see if we can mix them up. Next up, which form of estar fits? Mi padre está. We're only using one person here, so mi padre está. Mi padre está. Mi padre está en San Juan. My dad is in San Juan. Okay, tú.
Estás.
Estás. It needs that little S, that lonely little S hanging off the end. Mis amigos.
Estamos. Or están rather. Sorry.
Oh yeah, right. We need están. And it's good you corrected yourself. I am not in this group. If I say mis amigos, I am not in the group. Okay, so just están because it's more than one human being. Mi madre y yo.
Estamos.
Estamos. Now, when I have y yo in the group, it is the same thing as saying we, nosotros. So we need estamos, a mos kind of verb. Estamos. Ustedes.
Están.
Están. That N at the end. Están is always a signal that we've got a more than one person group we're talking about. You guys are, and then of course this is all we got left, so yay. Usted, one you, está. Okay, and it's important with these to be punching that sound, right? Bien. Okay, a ver, let's just look right now at the ser, estar, the uses, these situations in which we use them, okay? Nada más, nothing else other than that. And we're going to see a bunch of examples. Okay. We're going to see cerrestar, and you won't see a lot of yo forms here because of how it's set up. If we looked at this picture, these two people, right? How do we use ser, or really I should put in here estar. How do we use ser and estar to talk about these people? If I identify who this lady in the white coat is, ella es doctora, ella es médica. Those two words with the slash, they mean the same thing. They're equivalents, okay? Ella es doctora, ella es médica. I'm identifying by her profession who she is. Es doctora, es médica. But if I talk about how she feels, la médica está contenta. She's happy. How you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. Okay? Bien. I could say, está bien. She's good today. She feels well. Está bien. It's how she feels. Estar, health, emotions, location. Boom. Okay.
Shouldn't we be concerned about the patient though?
Yeah, we are going to look at la paciente. Sí. La paciente. Ella es paciente. En la camisa azul, in the blue shirt. ¿Sí? La mujer que tiene puesta la camisa azul. This lady in this blue shirt. Ella es paciente. I'm identifying. She's not the doctor. She's the patient. Ella es paciente. You know, if it's understood from the picture, you can even take this word ella out. And somebody will still know when they point at that picture, oh, you mean her. Es paciente. Es paciente is still grammatically an okay phrase, dropping the ella. You can. Es paciente, okay? But if I talk about how she feels, oh, she's there because she's not so great today. La paciente está enferma. La paciente está enferma. Sí, la paciente está enferma. Enferma, yeah, enferma, sick. Right? We have an English word, a really, a high class hoity-toity English word, infirm. They are infirm. Oh, go to the infirmary. That comes from that old Latin thing, that enfermo, right? Enferma, sick. So, la paciente está enferma. Bien. Okay. I could say using ser or using estar, but in context. Ellos son presidentes. I'm identifying who they are. They are presidents. See, es Roosevelt, es Johnson, es Nixon, es Carter, es Reagan, es Obama. Son presidentes. Son presidentes. Who they are, identifying them by their job. Okay.
How do we say they were presidents?
Ooh, I still need ser, but I need a past. So the way I might say they were, because I know, yeah, that would probably be more accurate, wouldn't it? I would need a different form. You would say this doesn't even look like ser because it doesn't, but ellos fueron presidentes.
Oh, so no, you don't use ellos eran presidentes.
That is
incorrect
another
grammar?
way to know. It's you could also, depending on the context, say ellos
Is that more
eran.
informal then?
No, it's not informal. There are two verbs for was.
Okay.
So if I mean, oh, this is just very final, I'm just saying all these guys, well, they're not all dead. Most of them are dead. 5 of these guys are no longer with us on this earthly realm. So, okay. If I want to just talk about it's over. They're not president anymore. I can say
Carter's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, he is alive. 4, perdón. Hoy.
He's like 150, but yeah, he's alive.
Perdón.
He's 1,000 years old.
Jimmy, yeah. 93 años, algo así. Okay. Ellos fueron president. Their terms
They
are
were
done.
president.
Yeah. Okay. They're not presidents anymore. But sometimes, let's say I want to talk about all the jobs, different jobs they had, and let's say I want to be more descriptive. Then they have a different verb for that was in the past, and that's kind of a getting deep into the weeds topic. Okay, but right, is president, or they are presidents, or they were presidents. Those are 2 different tenses. So that verb ser is going to take a totally different form than son, because if it's talking about the past, that's a different tense. So those are different forms of ser altogether. Okay. If I want to say these guys, they are in history books. I know that's kind of a figurative, not literal. They are in the history books. Están en los libros de historia. Están en los libros de historia. They're in history books. Okay, let's look at a different one. Oh, we do have a yo form. Yo soy maestra. Soy maestra. I'm telling what I do, right? Estoy en Arizona. I'm in Arizona. Location. Location. Estoy en Arizona. Clue, clue, clue. That little word en, meaning in or on, en, often is going to be kind of a signal. Ooh, location, in. That tiny word in, I-N, en, is going to indicate I need a location kind of verb. Yeah. Estoy en Arizona, right? If I say I'm from Arizona, I might be from Arizona, but I'm not there right now. Where you're from, we'll use ser. So if I say I'm from Arizona, I would have to say soy de, I'm from. Ser tells, it identifies permanent stuff, what I do for a living, where I am from, because you can't change where you're from. Okay, you're either from there or you're not, right? Indicates permanent characteristics or permanent type or hard to change type descriptions. So, soy maestra, soy morena, I'm brunette. Yeah, I know it's out of a bottle. Soy de Estados Unidos. I'm from United States. Soy de Estados Unidos. Soy bastante alta. Soy atlética. I am athletic. That's my physical type, right? Soy
Contenta.
Soy contenta would mean I am a happy person all the time.
Estoy alegre.
But estoy contenta would be I am happy. Now, happy is how I feel.
Oh, you're describing a profession, something permanent.
Right, something permanent will use
Oh, okay.
ser. Something temporary like your feelings will use estar. So, estoy contenta. Estoy triste. Estoy bien. I feel great. Estoy bien. Estoy mal. I feel crummy today. See, estoy mal. I feel lousy, right? How I feel, estar. Estoy en Arizona. Estoy en mi casa. Estoy enfrente de la cámara. Estoy enfrente de la cámara. Anything with location, estar. Bien?
Maestro's teacher,
Sí, sí. Sí.
like maestro, kind of?
Like that. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to find lots of these little helpful things. Yeah. Maestro, maestra, profesor, profesora all mean teacher. Yeah. And we know that word maestro from the world of music because we borrowed that from Italian, which has the same root as Spanish. So that's how we know that word maestro. Because but we pronounce it maestro in English, maestro, maestra.
Maestra.
Yeah, maestra. Yeah. Okay. And we're gonna do now yo soy and now we are. Mi clase y yo somos amigos. My class and I, we are friends. Somos amigos.
That doesn't make sense. Is that a correct Spanish or is that incorrect Spanish? My class and I are friends.
Let's change it out to make it maybe a little bit easier. Mis estudiantes y yo somos amigos.
Okay.
Bien? Sí.
Yeah.
Mis estudiantes y yo somos amigos. Bien? We are friends. It's talking about, it's still identifying. It's telling what relationship we have. Okay? Somos amigos. Estamos en la clase de Zoom. And I know it's a virtual place, but it's a place. Estamos en la clase de Zoom. location. Bien? Okay.
Mhm.
And these are all first person examples. Yo, first person singular, primera persona singular. Mis estudiantes y yo. Primera persona plural. First person, but plural. Okay. So the I and the we. Bien. Okay. Vamos a ver. Oh, Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran es inglés. He's English. He's a guy who's born in England, therefore he is English. Es inglés. He's an English guy. Es inglés.
I thought he was from Ireland.
Quizás es irlandés.
I think you're right. You're right. I think he's from England. I thought he was from Ireland.
Whatever.
Just put that in because no importa, doesn't matter. Sure, we can do that. Es inglés.
How do you say that? Irlandés?
Irlandés.
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 Irlandés. Irish. Yeah. Es inglés, es irlandés. Bien. Es del Reino Unido. He's from the UK. Es del Reino Unido. He's from the UK, United Kingdom.
Oh, the Reino Unido.
Es
Wow.
del Reino Unido.
Okay.
Ed Sheeran es del Reino Realm Unido, United.
Unido.
Es del
Okay.
Reino Unido, okay? We say,
Reino
decimos en
Unido.
inglés UK, United Kingdom.
UK.
Okay. Okay. But if I want to say he's at a concert, it's no longer identifying who he is
It's
or what he
where?
does or where he's from. It's saying where he's located. Está en un concierto. He's at a concert.
Concierto. Está en.
Está en un concierto.
And
Está en un concierto, okay?
Concierto.
Ed Sheeran es músico. I'm going to give you all descriptions of Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran es músico. Es irlandés, es inglés, okay? Es de Inglaterra, es del Reino Unido. Es profesional. Es cantante, es cantante profesional, ¿ok? Es popular, es pelirrojo, es pelirrojo. The color of
Peli or pelo?
pelirrojo, pelirrojo. I can also say tiene el pelo rojo, but pelirrojo, pelirrojo means red-headed.
Oh,
It means a
okay.
ginger. See,
Yeah. So pelo rojo does that mean one hair?
pelo rojo is just saying red hair.
Oh, okay.
Pelo rojo, which you could do. But I would never say he is red hair because he is not red hair.
Right.
Oh, he
So
is a
tiene pelo-
redhead.
Say it again, please. ¿Cómo se dice otra vez?
Pelirrojo.
Pelirrojo.
Pelirrojo. Pelirrojo.
Pelirrojo. Pelirrojo.
Okay.
I'll write it down up in here because this
Oh,
is
yeah,
an
maybe
es
that'll
thing. Es pelirrojo.
Redhead.
Oh,
Es pelirrojo.
oh, it's all one word.
Oh, it's all one
Pelirrojo.
word. I know they slam it out. It's a trash compactor thing.
Oh,
They slam it all
okay.
together. Pelirrojo. Es
That makes
pelirrojo.
sense when you wrote it out. Okay.
Okay, bien. Es pelirrojo. Bien.
Okay.
Está en un
Redheaded.
Exacto. Está en un concierto. Está en Los Ángeles. I could say that he's está en Los Ángeles. And I'm sorry, I can't get my accent marks on the capital A. Okay, está en Los Ángeles. Anything that tells location, estar. Okay. Okay. Maybe he's done with the concert and I want to say how he feels after he's been singing for like 3 hours straight. Está cansado. Está cansado. Está cansado. He's tired. Está cansado.
Sleepy.
Está cansado. Bien. Okay. Vale. Beyonce y Jay-Z son estadounidenses. They are people who are from the United States, right? There are two terms we can say they're from the United States. Son estadounidenses. And if that, yeah, if that word is intimidating, split it apart. Split it apart if it is intimidating. Because it's a long word. It comes from Estados Unidos. Okay. Estadounidenses.
Unidenses.
Estadounidenses.
United States.
Right. Estadounidenses means U.S. citizen. But, you know, it's a mouthful in English to say U.S. citizen. People, we say Americans, but that is kind of offensive to people who live in Latin America. They don't like to hear that. They like to hear the country you're from, because they're Americans.
So they don't,
too.
you can't say es americano?
Well, you can. I would not. I would not. Because
there's South America, Central America, and North America.
And they're Americans too. And they just kind of don't like to hear that. Culturally, they don't really like to hear that, because it's like, well, so am I. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
wow.
It is accurate, but it's not accurate enough.
Is saying
to them.
yo soy Americana Latina offensive?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. Beyonce y Jay-Z son estadounidenses. If you find estadounidenses, because when they say it fast, that's how it's going to sound. Estadounidenses. Then go to the easier word of norteamericanos.
Norteamericanos.
So be aware, sometimes you've got a backdoor, an easier thing to say. If estadounidenses is too hard for you, go with norteamericano.
Are Canadians North Americanos?
Well, of course they are.
Oh,
but they're canadienses.
Yeah, they're not.
Son canadienses.
How about, is it centroamericanos y sudamericanos?
Sudamericanos, centroamericanos. Sí, you know, people kind of like to hear the country people are from. So they like to either say es de Colombia or es colombiano. Es mexicano or es de Mexico. But you know, it doesn't matter if you're saying es de Mexico or es mexicano, we still use es. Right, because saying he's from Mexico or he is Mexican, both use that verb ser. Okay. So the essential thing to remember is you cannot say está mexicano.
Right.
That no tiene sentido. That does not have any, that sounds like goofy and weird to them. Okay. It's got to be son mexicanos. Son mexicanos, son colombianos, son panameños, son costarricenses, son argentinos, son chilenos.
So they don't like to be referred to the region, like Sudamericano and Central Americano.
Yeah, that in and of itself is okay. But if somebody asks, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from?
They're going to mention the country.
¿De dónde eres?
Okay.
They're expecting to hear a country.
Or a city.
One things that Mexicans find somewhat not rude, but confusing is when Americans say things like, somebody asked, ¿de dónde eres? What they want to hear back is what country you're from. I'm just talking like Mexicans.
They don't. That's right. I've experienced that. They don't like when you ask them ¿de dónde eres? You have to ask them ¿de qué país eres?
¿De qué país? You can. ¿De qué país eres? You can. There are many different ways sometimes of expressing the same question.
That's just for Mexico, right?
Well, no, but so here's the essential thing. Mexicans will find it a little bit in general, Mexicans will find it probably a little confusing if you come back with soy de Colorado, soy de Michigan, soy de Illinois. They don't want to hear the state. They want to hear the country you're from. ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Generally, they're expecting to hear back what country.
Estados.
Yeah, Estados Unidos.
Got it.
Okay.
I got
So
it. Okay.
that's all we really need to know about that. Okay, bien. Let's look at some plural examples. If I talk about this group, and I'm talking about you guys as a group, ustedes son de Estados Unidos. I'm telling where you're from, that signal by that word de, needs ser. Ustedes son de Estados Unidos. Okay? Where you're from is not location, it's where you're from. So that word de es importante. These tiny words like de and en son importantes. These are really important because they will signal the use of two different verbs. De tells origin, where you're from. I can be from Michigan, but I'm not in Michigan now, am I? So, right? I can be from the United States, but maybe I'm not in the United States now. Okay. Location is separate from where you're from, which is origin. Origin, where you're from, uses ser. Location, wherever something is right now, is estar. So, ustedes son de Estados Unidos, but ustedes están en una fiesta del Día de Independencia. You're at a Independence Day party. Están en una fiesta tells where you are. I've got that word en. En tells where you are. De does not necessarily tell where you are. It tells where you're from. De means from or of. En means in or at a place. Están en una fiesta. They're at a party. And then I tell what kind of party. Del Día de Independencia. Okay?
Now, how do you signify the difference between DEL and DE? Isn't you were getting close to it, and then we left it off, I think.
Okay.
De y del.
Let me
Ustedes
take this
son
off the
de
share for a
Estados-
minute. Okay. Because you have seen this a lot. I'm going to bring up a different kind of screen to show that because this will be easier to show it on this screen. Okay. A ver. What's the difference between de and del? And you have seen this happening a lot. De means of or from.
Of or
okay. It
from.
can either mean either one of those two. De, of, de, from. Okay.
Okay.
Bien.
Mhm.
So, vale. When I have de paired up with with a noun, I might say, I might need these feminine masculine markers, which we call the word the. Okay. De la. Es un empleado. I'm going to say he's an employee. Let's start this way. Es un empleado. And now I'm going to say whose employee he is. And to tell whose employees he is, in English, I'll often use an apostrophe S. In Spanish, there is no apostrophe. They don't have one. Well, they don't use them unless they use it from something foreign. But I want to say he's an employee of the pharmacy. He's a guy who works there. Es un empleado de la farmacia. Es un empleado de la farmacia. De la stays separate words. De la farmacia. Bien.
Of the pharmacy.
Sí, exacto.
Okay.
Okay. Es un empleado de los doctores. That guy, he works for the doctors. See, he's the doctors. He works for this bunch of guys in a practice.
Worker.
Es un empleado de los doctores. Bien.
Employee of the doctors.
Sí. Vale, sí. es un empleado de las mujeres. Let's say these women run a company. Por ejemplo, es un empleado de las mujeres. Oh, he's an employee of those women. Okay, bien.
Okay.
So, de la, de los, de las. Separate words. Something odd is going to happen when I have de and el next to each other. And that odd thing is, es un empleado. A ver. I cannot say. No es posible. You cannot do this.
Es empleado de.
De la, separate words. De los, separate words. De las, separate words. But de el, not separate words. And why not? Because phonetically, de ends in an e, el begins in an e, and those sounds, they smash together. So when I have de and el next to each other, it becomes one word, del.
What's el banco mean?
El banco, a bank. Chase is un banco.
Why isn't it le bank or la bank? Le bank.
Well,
Le banco.
Banco ends in an o. It's a masculine
Uno
word.
banco.
El
So
banco.
why isn't it de le? De le banco.
She's saying like de la or de los or de las banco. No?
Okay. If I say he is an employee of the bank, right? Normally you would expect to hear el banco. And normally el banco would be great. But because I have de right next to the word el, they are going to smash and become one word.
Oh, L is singular, like la is singular. L is the male singular, and la is the. Oh,
Right.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, está bien. That's okay.
That's a good question.
El banco, right?
Those
But-
all just started with L, and this starts with E. So I got confused.
Okay.
Like la and los. I mean la and las, but it's L and los.
El en los, right. So, es un, okay. So let me look at this. Es un empleado de los doctores. If I make that one doctor instead of a practice of doctors, it's going to change a little bit. Es un empleado del doctor.
De. Oh, that's a good
Of
example.
the doctor.
See how that changes?
Mhm.
Doctores means a bunch of them. They all work
Okay.
together in the same office, yeah, like a practice of people. Es un empleado de los doctores. But if I reduce it down and say, oh, it's only one doctor. Es un empleado del doctor.
Oh.
Bien? Makes sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
See?
That makes it real good. Clear.
Del is what we call a contraction. Del is a contraction, and it means that these two words are next to each other. And I can't do that because they don't. It becomes one word.
It's like cannot and can't. No?
Yeah, so, okay, there are certain situations where they will, in writing, keep them separate. If el is part of a proper noun, but you don't need to know that because you're not going to use
That's
that.
too fancy.
You're not going to use that. You're not going to use that. And you're not going to care, okay? Del is what they call a contraction. And I know we have contraction in English like this with it. Yeah, he's, she'd tell you if you asked, right? We'll, yeah, those are contractions. They have an apostrophe. A contraction in Spanish does not get an apostrophe. What it means is I am just smashing two words in to make them one. And there are only two of these in Spanish. So I'm going to show you what the other one is, because it's going to follow the same principle. Del is a contraction. Al is the other and the only other contraction in English. And just like del is the combination of del plus de plus el, okay? Al is a contraction
la.
of a plus el.
La.
Okay, so let's say you want to say, we're going someplace. We're going. Vamos.
Nosotros vamos
Vamos, we're going. Vamos
a el concierto.
vamos al concierto. Vamos al concierto. You cannot say vamos a el concierto. Just like de and el smashed together, a and el smashed together to make one word. Okay. But for anything else that is not a masculine noun, let's say we're not talking about concierto. Okay. Vamos a la clase. La clase is a feminine word. So I cannot say al clase. It's a la clase.
Oh.
Vamos a la clase. Vamos a los museos. More than one museum. Vamos a los museos. But if I make it just one museum, it's vamos al museo. Okay. Vamos a las tiendas. Let's go to the stores. I want to go to all of them. Vamos a las tiendas. So, a and las stay two separate words. A and los stay two separate words. A and la stay two separate words. But al, never a el. Al. Al. That is one contraction. The other contraction is del. So contractions happen when you have el next to one of these two words. De followed by el, a followed by el. You're going to see them smashed together.
And el is masculine, no?
El is masculine, right?
Okay. And
el is masculine.
Is feminine?
A is not feminine. A is just the word to.
Yeah.
Okay. A en español es tú. Not the number two. Yeah, but direction, yeah.
A los museos.
Two. Okay, bien?
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, so we solved that mystery, see?
Sí.
Sí.
Magnífico, magnífico.
Gracias.
Okay. De nada, de nada. You know, and I know these little questions come up. Never be afraid to ask. It's a-okay. We have to, take those things sometimes as they come up. Es necesario. Okay, vamos a ver. Vamos a continuar. We're gonna keep going here a little bit. We're gonna only spend maybe a few more minutes on this. Okay, vale. Otro ejemplo, another example with son, plural. Los hombres son de México. Los hombres son de México. They're from Mexico. See, but maybe if I'm talking about that, maybe I want to talk about how they feel.
Ellos están muy emocionados.
Emocionados.
Están.
Not emotional, but excited. Emocionados. Sí, emocionados. Emocionados. We cannot make excited into a Spanish word, because if you do, it means something else. It does not mean excited.
Ellos están muy emocionados.
Están muy emocionados. They're very excited.
How do you say emotional then? They are emotional.
Emocionado, it can kind of carry that meaning, but usually it's meant for, usually it's used for excited. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on, because I'm afraid I'm going to get a little bit behind here. Okay. Let's look at a tu example. Okay. If I'm talking about her and not to her. If I'm talking about her, I would use es, right? Ella es delgada, she's thin.
Estás ocupada.
Es delgada, bonita y rubia.
Ella está
She's
en
thin,
una
pretty, and blonde. Oh, I
oficina.
hate her already. Ella está en una oficina. But now where she is.
Es
Está en una
inteligente
oficina.
porque
Está
es
en una oficina.
contadora.
Es inteligente. She is smart. See? Because es contadora. She's an accountant. And accountants have to pass all those nasty exams and memorize new tax laws every single year.
Contadora.
See, but if I talk to her, not about her, I talk to her, I say, and I probably won't even use that word tú. Eres contadora. Are you an accountant? Eres contadora.
Eres contadora.
Are you an accountant? Estás ocupada. Are you busy? Busy is how she feels. She is occupied, busy. She is focused on something. Okay. Estás ocupada. So, how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. Bien. Vale, magnifico. Okay. We're also sometimes going to, but I'm only going to pay a little bit of attention to this because we've got to move on. Actually, I am going to change my mind. I'm going to take this verb next week, tener, because we need to do numbers. Bien, okay. But we are going to check out tener and idioms for tener. And I will send you some videos on that. Quiero practicar. I want to practice some of these numbers. If you did not yet watch this video about ser versus estar versus tener, make sure you watch this video because they delineate those three. So if you skipped that part last week, don't show me your hands. If you just didn't get time, go back and look at that. It is really, really valuable for learning that. Okay, and we'll come back to that again next week a little bit. Bien, okay. Números, los números. Vamos a practicar. We're going to practice some numbers. And we're going to practice numbers really that go up to 100 today. Okay? Up to 100. But we're going to focus on these lower numbers a little more. Knowing the 1 through 10 is essential because you recycle or reuse the 1 through 10 when you get to the higher numbers. So when you say 39, you're recycling the 9 part from the 1 through 10. Okay. Anytime you use 39, 49, 59, 69, 79, you're recycling the 1 through 10.
Of course, you can use
okay.
whatever you want on your own too.
Vamos a ver. Let's take a look, see if we can figure out some of these numbers. And I did give you this page to look at last week, did I not?
Yeah.
Bien, okay.
Yes.
Vale. Vamos a practicar con estos números. We're going to practice these numbers first. 28, 28.
28.
28. You see, we're recycling the ocho part, right? 28. Next one is a single word number. 15.
15.
15. Think that's really keen. Yeah, 15. 15. Bien. 32.
32.
32.
32. Perfecto. 32. Bueno.
32.
32. 32. 32. Okay. Bien.
32.
11.
Y 2.
2. Yeah. Now, okay, cuidado. This is a good warning sign. Dios is not the same thing as dos.
I know, I corrected myself.
Dos. Uno, dos. And Dios, D-I-O, Dios. Oh God, ay, Dios mío. Yeah, so, but that, it's good I heard that. It's good I heard that because this really illustrates why getting all those vowels is so important. Okay, let's look at the number 11. ¿Cómo se dice 11? 11, perfecto. ¿Cómo se dice 8?
8.
8, perfecto. ¿Cómo se dice 26?
26.
26. 26. Bien. ¿Cómo se dice 13?
13.
13.
13. We take tres, and we put an E on the end of it. 13. 13. 13. Bien. 30.
30.
30. 20. 20. And I heard everybody saying vein. Perfecto. 20. Muy bien. 14. It's a long word.
14.
14 looks kind of like cuatro, but it's missing that sound. Cuatro. No, it's just 14. Okay. 16. ¿Cómo se dice? 16.
16.
Yes.
16. 5.
5.
5. Okay. 29.
29.
37. 37. Bien. Okay.
37.
Perfecto. Muy bien. Vamos a ver. Let's count up some items. We're going to look at our slightly higher numbers, not too super high yet. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, tomates, 17 tenedores, 18 platos, 19 días,
$20.
$20. Muy bien. Okay, vamos a ver. Hay bombones. We're going to put I with a number and bombones. We're just saying they exist. There are, not son, but there are. I, and we need a number, and bombones.
16.
Hay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. ¿Cuántos hay? How many?
13, 14.
16.
2, 3,
16. Okay, so we plug it in after the I. 16.
Hay 16 bombones.
Bombones. Okay.
Bombones.
We're going to have galletas, cookies, galletas.
Galletas is crackers, no?
Hay 20
How do you say
galletas.
crackers?
Galletas is often used for crackers as well. Sí. Okay. Bien. So, galletas aquí.
Hay 20 galletas.
20. Hay 20 galletas.
Hay 20 galletas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Bien. Perfecto. Pelotas. We've got little balls here. Ahí, ¿cuántas?
18.
18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
17, 18.
Perfecto. Ok.
Hay 18 pelotas.
Sí. Pusha, dime.
18 pelotas.
When the word ends with the S, sometimes I hear you pronounce S, but sometimes I hear as if you're not pronouncing.
Okay, and that's probably just a little hard because of my microphone to always hear the S, but I will try to make my S's more pronounced for you.
But the S is pronounced.
Okay. Sí. And also, sometimes when you're going fast, it's harder to hear that. So, but gracias, pero gracias. Okay. Hay ornamentos.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Hay 12 ornamentos.
10, 11.
Okay. Hay
11
ornamentos.
Hay 11.
Ornamentos.
11 ornamentos. Hay 11 adornos. Hay 11 ornamentos. Hay 11. We can use I with a number. Es posible. Okay. A ver. Naranjas. Naranjas.
Naranjas.
Oranges.
15.
Is it
Hay
naranjas
15
or naranjas?
naranjas.
Hay
15
15
naranjas.
naranjas. And you got to think these little things with dots, those are balloons, globos, globos, okay?
Globos.
¿Cuántos globos hay?
Globos.
¿Cuántos? How many? ¿Cuántos globos
1,
hay?
2, 3,
Hay
4,
18 globos.
8, 9, 10, 11,
Globos.
12,
Yes, so
Globos.
Hay
13,
18
18
globos.
globos. Bien,
globos.
globos,
Globos.
ok? Bien,
Globos.
vale, magnífico.
Sí.
Okay, so let's look at 20, 30. And notice this is where we get a split, right? With the 20s, they actually combine all the numbers, right? And the little and
21,
thing is in
22,
there, but it's just that little
23.
I. But once you get to 30 and higher, they're going to separate that word and. Here on the left, the and is just E, because the E spelled with an I and the E spelled as an Y, that Y, they both sound the same and they both mean and, okay? It's just that this little I on the left-hand side, meaning we're squeezing it all together, okay? So when they're all separated out, they would be, if they were written as words, separate words and 30 and 1, 30 and 2, 30 and 3. 31.
They would be written out like that. Is that
They
what
would be
you said?
written out like that. Okay, from 30
Okay.
higher. Okay, 30 and higher.
Okay.
However, when you hear people say this, they are still going to smash those words. They're going to sound like they're all smashed together. Just like these are all smashed together.
Yeah.
Really
okay.
are. They're going to sound smashed together, even though they're three separate. You're not going to hear a pause between those three words. Okay. So you will hear these as 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. You will hear them all. The people will say them very fast and all slam together. That's just the reality of how you will hear it. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick look at some of these higher numbers. And the only thing we do is recycle the 1 through 10s next to them to make the bigger numbers. That's all. So you're just always recycling 1 through 10 when you add them on to these next numbers you see on the screen. Okay. Yeah. And then after we're done with this, we're going to do a little dictado. And the dictado is going to mean you're going to take any old crappy little piece of paper, any scrap back of your grocery receipt, isn't it? And you're just going to write down the numbers. Okay. But we're going to review what some of these numbers are first. We're going to take some lower numbers for the dictado. We're not going to make them extremely complicated yet. Next week, we'll do some harder ones. Okay. So 40 is going, and all these are going to have enta at the end. Like we have ty, right? In English, in Inglés, we have that idea of ty, like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that ty, 80, 90 in Spanish is enta, over and over and over. Oh, that's how you know. And the first part of the word is going to sound kind of like the recycled 1 through 10 stuff. Yeah, 1 through 10 numbers. So we're just going to go through these double-digit numbers real quickly together. 40. Repitan, por favor. 40. 40. Bien, okay. 50. 50. We take the first half of cinco, right? And we do the enta thing. 50. Okay. 60. 60. 60. And notice They don't use seis, S-E-I-S, seis. We knock the I out.
Why is that?
Yeah, we rip out. Why is that? I do not know why that is. I cannot tell you why. It is buried in about 1,500 years of just how it happened. But notice that the I goes missing. The I goes missing. And we, instead of using seis, S-E-I, seis, we rip out the I. 60, 60. 60, 60. As important right now, yes, there. 60. Now, here's why it's important that you hear my S. The only difference between 60 and 70 is one letter. That is it. And when you hear somebody give you a price, this can become like really frighteningly important. Yeah, look at what happens. The I goes missing again. You know the word siete, but that I goes missing. And just like this is just 60, this is 70, 70. So let's do these two next to each other again. 60,
60,
70.
70.
It's a very fine difference. So when you hear somebody say a number, you have to listen kind of hard for these two kinds of numbers. You know, 40, 50, they're hard to get mixed up. But 60, 70, harder. You have to listen harder. Okay, that's just what I'm saying. So, you know,
Usha and I had a trouble with that last week.
well, but it is a normal thing to find that difficult to process because you're listening for a sound that is very fleeting. It's here and gone, right? Yeah, it's normal. Okay, now we've got an easier one. Yeah, it looks so much like ocho.
80.
80. 80. Next, we've got, instead of nueve and UE, we got 90. The UE turns into an O. 90. 90. Okay. When we get to the number for 100, there are just two things you need to know. If it is only this exact number, 100, it's 100. 100. But anything higher than 100 needs to tag on an extra little suffix to that word 100. So if I'm saying 101 or anything above that, I need to turn it from 100 into ciento.
101, no?
No, just 101. 101.
101.
I'm not saying you'll never
102.
hear somebody say 101, but suena mejor 101. 101, 102, 103, 105, 110, 120, 130.
140.
Eso, yeah, that's it.
105 se dice.
115.
Oh, 150.
150, sí, 150, 150.
Y 170.
170, 170, sí, exacto, exacto.
And
Bien.
that's with the 170 that is difficult too, no?
170, oh yeah, anything with 70, you're listening for the 60 versus 70, yeah. And even with 70, guys, that letter T is not a T. T in English gets puff of air, but T in Spanish is more muted, not so much puff of air. So you won't hear it as 70. You'll hear it as 70.
70.
The T
and
is
that's why it's
more,
hard to hear. 60 and 70.
that is why it's hard to hear. The T is more muted. Okay.
Okay.
If I pronounced it like setenta, you'd hear it better on my microphone, but that's not the way realistically you would ever hear somebody saying it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So yes, if I wanted to say setenta, you would hear all that really, really well. But in reality, they don't make
That's
the
not how they
T
say
as explosive. Yeah. So the pronunciation is a little softer on the T. Setenta, setenta. Okay. Bien. We're going to do a little dictado. I'm going to take the numbers off the screen. And I want you to just take any crummy piece of paper. It doesn't have to look like anything. Something you're going to throw away in the next 5 minutes is just great. And I am going to say some numbers, and I want you to write down the number as a digit. Don't write it out in whole words. Nobody does that. Yeah. So what's the point of this? The point of this is I want you to recognize the number. When I say a number in Spanish, you think of it as a digit. Okay, something you see on a menu sign with the price of the, the special of the day, because that's the way our brains work. You don't spell out S-E-V-E-N-T-Y when you hear 70 in your brain. You don't do that. Nobody else does that either. Okay, I'm going to say some numbers, and I would like you to write them down in Spanish. I'm going to say each number only twice. Okay, so I'm going to keep my microphone right next to my mouth, and you'll see what the numbers are. Vamos a ver. Okay. Número uno, number one. It's going to be this number.
Uno.
Uno. Uno. Cinco. Cinco. Okay. Número dos. Número dos. Number two.
Dos.
10.
Dos.
10.
10.
10. Okay. Número 3.
3.
18. 18.
Oh, I don't know how to spell that.
No, don't spell it. Write it as a digit. 18. I want you to write it as a digit. No, because that's the way we are going to think of it. That's the only thing that's important, is that you think of what was that number that person said.
Okay.
Like somebody's giving you a price. Like somebody's telling you what room number you are in a hotel. That's what you want, that digit to pop in your brain, not write out the word. 18. 18. Okay. Número 4, number 4 is going to be cuatro. Cuatro. Número 5. 7.
7.
7. Número 6. Número 6.
6. 6.
13. 13. 13. Número 7. Número 7. 11. 11. Número 8. Número 8. 20. 20. 20.
We should play bingo.
Número 9. Número 9.
9.
Número 9. 14. 14.
14.
14. Ok. Número 10. Número 10.
10.
35. 35. I'm saying it slow for you. 35. 35. 35. Okay. Vale? Bien. I'm going to show you what the answers are. Let's see. Your goal is to try to get at least 7 out of 10 right. At least 7 out of 10 right. Aquí están. Here they are. 5, 10, 18, 4, 7, 13, 11, 20, 14, 35. Bien. The most critical skill is for you to understand a number. The digit pops into your brain, the number itself, when you hear a number, because people will tell you your room number. They will tell you an address that you need to go to. They will tell you a price. There is the bingo, boom, 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 boom. La cosa más importante, lo más importante es saber el precio. The most important thing is to know a price. People will give you a price, what something costs, okay? And and for you to understand a number that is said to you is super important. So you know how much to pay them, so you don't overpay them. So, you know, so that if that number is wrong, you can go like, oh, no, perdón. Disculpe, por favor, and try to work out any problems, right? We'll do another dictado, but with higher numbers next week, okay? So we'll go into the hundreds next week. La semana que viene. La próxima semana we'll go into the numbers. We will go in, I will be giving you, I've got to find it here. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? I'm going to give you a series of videos. I'm going to give you a big numbers video, and they're going to go over 100. Anytime they talk about like millions, ignore it. You don't, for practical purposes, need that stuff. But is it realistic that something could cost 350 pesos? Well, sure. 350
Esos are
pesos.
dólares.
Yeah,
Pesos or dólares.
or dólares, you know.
Because in pesos in Mexico is quite different than dólares, no?
Sí, sí, claro. Yeah. Any country, whatever monetary unit they're using, it's going to be very different than what you're accustomed to. Okay. So es normal. That's really normal.
You have to convert it.
You have to convert it. But just knowing what the number is so that you've, you know, got it to
gotcha.
pay. That's
Okay.
what we want to know. We want to know the numbers. So, and when people are buying stuff, this is like the most pressing need a tourist will probably have, how much you owe that person that you're buying something from. So, okay, this is, just pay attention to the hundreds. He's going to show you how the hundreds go. And he's going to have an area where he kind of says a number and then he like puts 2 or 3 numbers on the screen and you guess which number he said off of what you see written, okay? And then you'll know the answer right away. So you're going to watch that. You're also going to watch this video about cuánto cuesta, how much does it cost? And she's going to talk about how we incorporate this a little bit into asking how much stuff costs and working the numbers into that. So you're going to get a question word, which is cuánto, how much? Cuánto cuesta?
You know, when I went to Puerto Rico in the 1990s, I took care of my dad. They charge you more. It's a cash society. I don't know if it still is, but if you charge by credit card, they're going to charge you the fee that they have to pay in order to process that. So I found that very offensive.
Well,
but that's it. Puerto Rico was a cash society. I don't know if it's still like that.
You know, I don't know either. I have friends who have relatives who are still living in Puerto Rico. So depende. It really depends. There are also some countries where they accept both a dollar and their own national monetary unit. So you always have to be careful. And anytime you travel, even if it's not in Latino America, even if you're in Europe, whenever you're paying with a card, you're going to have a fee. Okay. End of story. Anytime, Tomas knows, Tomas has traveled a whole bunch. Anytime you are in France, you are in Italy, you are, you're paying with a card.
But here in the United States, it's the same charge, right?
Yeah, but see,
generally,
it's different when you're changing currency. Puerto Rico es distinto. That's different with Puerto Rico because they are part of the United States, but they probably still can charge an extra fee for processing. It's entirely
when
possible.
I was there, they charged me an extra fee for cash or credit card.
It would not surprise me one bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to watch a cuánto cuesta, and you're going to watch a couple of videos on some of these things that talk about household things, okay? Which is capítulo 4. So we're going to work some vocabulary.
Yeah, that was from chapter 4.
Yeah, vocabulario. We're going to work some vocabulary on the house, la casa. You're going to have this short video, rooms and parts of the house, and you're also going to have this video because actually he gives some different vocabulary. They use some different vocabulary with rooms in the house, talking about a house and the kinds of rooms that you've got, or, you know, a little bit about the furniture in rooms, the furniture in a hotel room, the furniture in a house. Sometimes, depending on which region you're in, they may use slightly different terms. So kind of be prepared for that, but it's helpful for you to get familiar with different words with la casa. So we're going to have these 2 specific videos to help you with that. Capítulo 4. If you did not focus on chapter 4, if you focus more on the numbers, that was just fine before, but we are going to make sure this week that you look at that verb tener, have. We're going to bring that verb tener, have, into our practice. And we're also going to look at some things that talk about household, apartment type items. See, bien? And maybe take a little look, also take a look at chapter 5, where they talk about describing, meaning adjectives, how to say something is big, something is modern, something is old, something is new. All those kinds of description words. We'll have to start to incorporate those descriptions, and we start talking about rooms and furniture and all that kind of stuff. ¿Está bien? We good?
Sí, gracias.
Perfecto. Perfecto. Es un placer. It is a pleasure. Nos vemos entonces el martes. We'll see each other on Tuesday, ¿verdad?
Sí, hasta luego.
Gracias.
Vale, magnífico. Hasta luego. Que tengan buena semana. May you all have a very good week. Excelente. Nos vemos.
Bye-bye.
Los